The first thing to know is that STEM challenges, science crafts, and simple STEM are not equals. If you want good results, you have to start with the right tool for the job you're trying to do. It's a little bit like those old-timey exercise machines that just sort of shake you in place. There are a lot of misleading labels out there. And if you spend 20 minutes a day on an exercise machine like this one versus 20 minutes a day on a treadmill, I think you can see you'd have radically different results, right? So we're going to have to be a little bit savvy because you cannot trust that it's an actual STEM challenge just because somebody has slapped that label on it. Crafts and simple STEM do have value, but they cannot deliver the same benefits of a true challenge. We can't expect things that are easy and passive to give us the workout that we need to achieve our goals, right? So we need to not be seduced by simple, and we also need to vet all of our STEM challenges to make sure that they really are the right tool for what we're trying to achieve. There are 5 questions you want to walk through anytime you're evaluating a STEM resource, and we're going to use this example of this cloud craft on our left as we walk through the 5 questions. Your answers to all 5 should be yes if you want it to be a high quality STEM challenge. The first question you want to ask yourself is there an open-ended problem for kids to solve? So there should be no step-by-step directions. We're not building IKEA furniture. There should be many paths, many possible solutions to whatever the problem is the students are building to. There should be some form of a criteria and constraints list that give the students the parameters, the guide rails, the requirements, and the limitations that they're building to. But ultimately, there should be lots of possible solutions, and their designs should show that in the end. So going back to our example of the cloud craft, is this an open-ended problem? Not really, right? Because we're just asking our students to manipulate the cotton to model it after what these clouds look like. So at the end of this activity, you should have a classroom full of largely the same looking end product. It is not open-ended. And a quick tip for you, a healthy STEM challenge should result in a variety of student designs. So if you look around and you're seeing lots of variety, that's a good signal to you that you've started with an open-ended problem. The second question you want to ask is, are there at least 2 elements of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math integrated as part of the problem solving? Of course, you can always throw in other subject areas. I encourage that. Many people add in the A for art or English language arts or even PE and history. There really is no limit on this. It's just how far you can stretch your imagination. Looking back at our cloud craft, I don't see integrated STEM here. I definitely see the science represented. I think that you could potentially pull in the technology or the math after the fact with some extension activities. I don't really see much engineering and manipulating the cotton personally, so I think at best you could say maybe, but it's a pretty weak connection. I would really say no, this does not show integrated STEM. All right, if you are multitasking right now, come back to me. This question is super, super important. Is there an actual challenge involved? Which means, if you ask yourself, will some of your student groups potentially fail? The answer should be yes. That's a good thing because we are going to be prepared to use that as a teachable moment. If your answer is no, then you need to change your criteria and constraints list to make it harder. It's a STEM challenge, not a STEM easy. And we have to give our students practice failing and getting back up again. If we constantly clear the path and save the day, they'll never learn to do that for themselves. And if we're scared to give them true challenges, our kids are going to learn to be scared of challenges too. We must be bold enough to let them fail, and we need to be there on the other end to help them understand what to do with that information. We have to set the bar high. So back to our cloudcraft, I think you would agree with me, there's not a real challenge here. I cannot imagine many, if any, students failing at producing this end product. The 4th question on our vetting list, will your students beg for another shot at this challenge? And will anything change if you give them that chance? So looking at our cloudcraft, can you imagine a week after doing this that your students are going to come up to you and say, oh my gosh, can we do the cloud thing again? Because I had this new idea that I think would work even better. It would be more efficient. It would perform better. It would be more amazing. Please, 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 please let us have another shot. Now, I've done this cloudcraft and I have never had anybody ask me to do it a second time, but even if they did ask, would anything really change about the end result if I let them have a second shot? It shouldn't, right? Because they're really just modeling here, so there shouldn't be any major changes. And the final question you want to ask is, must your students use the 4 C's of engineering to be successful at the task? So the 4 C's are communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. Now with the Cloudcraft, if you are having them maybe work in partners, I could see potentially communication and collaboration being covered. There isn't really much room for creativity here, is there? Again, we're just modeling. And critical thinking, I don't think it passes the test on this either. Now, I do just want to say that science crafts aren't bad. They're just not STEM challenges. A craft or simple STEM just can't produce the same benefits and results of a real STEM challenge. It's the same thing as the treadmill and the old-timey shaky machine, right? Starting with a high-quality challenge is the first key. You've got to start with the right tools for what you're trying to achieve. Now, a quick tip for you is, as good as any STEM challenge may already be that maybe you found on the internet or maybe you've purchased, it's always going to be stronger if you tailor it for difficulty and your grade level content standards. So be looking for resources that have editable criteria and constraints lists. They might call the list something different, and that's fine. You just want to make sure that you have the ability to edit for your students.